After months and months of discussion and prediction, finally, the inevitable has occurred. The US economy is now officially in a recession. Not that the economic intelligentsia is going to tell you anything about that, because they are all in Biden's pocket and don't really want to see his economic or political chances get tanked even further by this particular bit of news. Instead, they're going to continue to desperately extend the Roe v. Wade news cycle up until the point of the election, and likely failing in said pursuit, because even at this point, it's fading from the news cycle. Now, there's still stories going on about that, but the fact that there wasn't a massive night or summer of rage following the Roe v. Wade stuff, it's kind of weaker now. And so they have to fall back on the economy, because the reality is that the American people are only really concerned about the economy. Just look at what's around you. The economy is in shambles, and that is no better seen than in the inflationary markets, because, well, inflation is at a record high of 8.6%, and even that statistic is underselling it, because in reality, inflation is any inflation of the currency, any printing of money, as it were. And the printing of money has gone up to insane levels over the past year or so, to the point where where Biden presented printing basically the entire the entirety of the U.S. economy over again in a spending package, and then got about 50% of that in the outcome from, of course, Rhino Republicans eventually voting for the omnibus spending package that ended up totaling around $3 trillion or so. I forget exactly what the number was, but the point is that inflation is much higher than is being represented in prices, though even the prices at this point are at insane levels. And, well, the insanity goes on even further, because when you get more specific and look at things like, say, gas prices, it starts getting even worse, which is where Biden has his most coping going on. Of course, he has been blaming everyone and everyone else about the inflationary gas prices other than himself. Of course, he had the whole canard about Putin being at fault, despite the fact that the gas prices had been going up for literally more than a year by that point. By the point that Putin had invaded Ukraine and we had put sanctions on Russian oil, he's now gone on to start blaming it on the oil companies themselves, claiming that they're not producing enough, all the while he's been limiting their production by preventing them from leasing new lands, meaning that when they want to go and produce more, they're actually running on a very finite resource, because they only have so many land. And so instead of what Biden presumes to be would happen when they increase in production, which is a reduction in price on its own, you have to look at the long-term knock-on effects to see what's actually going to happen. Because rather than just a simple downturn in price, instead what you're going to see is a temporary downturn in price as the oil production ramps up and we start seeing more oil being pumped into the market. But eventually, you're going to see an upturn in price beyond what is already going on now, because eventually they're going to run out of leased lands. Not that they're going to run out of peak oil or that sort of leftist talking point that has been completely inaccurate ever since it was first calculated in the 1910s. Not that thing, because leftists have been claiming that for a while, but simply because they can't get any more leases because of an executive order that Biden put into place on his very first day, one among many, which is a scandal which I am amazed has gone completely under the radar over the past couple of months. Remember that? Remember how Biden was doing hundreds of executive orders within his first 20 days of office? It was completely ridiculous at the time, and these are some of the knock-on effects that were inevitably going to come from such a regulatory windfall. And so many regulations were put into place that we're only seeing the negative effects of right now. And that is why his economy is imploding seemingly all at once, because it's not just the inflation that's going so wrong. Now it's also the stock market. The stock market's been down now for 2 quarters, which means we are in a recession. And when you're in a recession, well, lots of things start going bad, and that includes the housing market, which people are predicting a repeat of 2008 for quite a while now, and it seems like that whole prediction has finally arrived, where the housing market has gone to insane prices basically everywhere and is looking to go on a downspin. And this leads us all to the source of these economic woes. Joe Biden himself. He can blame whoever he wants. He can blame the fact that everything around him is going wrong. But just like the last guy who did this exact same thing, Jimmy Carter, when we're coming to a belated sequel from of a thing from the 70s, well, it has all of the normal hallmarks. It is less subtle, less functional as a script, less coherent, and of course, overlong and boring. And so Biden has been left to wandering about the stage of the politics, much like he wanders around the stage of his own office, all the while looking at his cue cards that are telling him in very direct details exactly what he's supposed to do. And of course, the major ticket upon that, even if it's not directly stated, is destroy the U.S. economy. And that's where I'm going to leave you guys off for today. If you enjoyed that video, do subscribe down below and check me out on other platforms. I'm on BitChute, I'm on Odyssey, I'm on Rumble, I'm on all of those places, and I'm also on Minds, Gab, and Getter, and a couple of other places. All of those links are down in the description. I suggest you go check them out. I'm KelKidman. This has been Breaking on the Daily. Don't be square.